Turn on the lights. The voice trembled from behind the black curtain as Bruno Mars stood frozen, his heart pounding louder than the roar of the crowd outside the arena. The smell of overheated cables, sweat, and white roses that seemed to come from nowhere blended together, striking his senses with memories that had never truly left. He knew that voice. He had always known it. Risay stood a few steps away, her silhouette only a soft outline beneath the red emergency light. Her blonde hair was loosely tied, her black dress simple, almost too simple for someone who could make the world hold its breath when she sang. Her hand shook as she touched the small table holding bottled water, as if it were her last anchor to reality. Bruno swallowed hard. For years, he had trained himself to sing heartbreak as if it were nothing more than a melody. But now, in this narrow, silent room, every song felt insufficient. There was something unfinished between them, something he had always avoided with long tour, new albums, and a flawless smile on stage. Outside, rain fell over the Lowe's Angels Stadium, tapping against the metal roof like an impatient rhythm. Between the raindrops, Bruno remembered their first meeting in a small studio in Seoul years ago, when the world still felt wide and time had not yet become an enemy. Risay laughed back then, a pure, unguarded laugh that made him forget how to stay distant. He remembered her small habits, tapping the floor with the tip of her shoe when nervous, humming half-formed lyrics as if talking to herself. Risay broke the silence. "I didn't come here for nostalgia," she said softly, yet firmly. "I came because you're the only one who knows that song isn't about love." Bruno closed his eyes. That song, the one he never released, the one only the two of them had heard on a night when the power went out and small candles became their only witnesses. A song about guilt, about the wrong choice at the wrong time, about the fear of being honest with oneself. He opened his eyes and saw Risay looking at him, the same eyes that once held hope now carrying caution. There was pain there, but also courage. Risay had always been like that, he thought, soft on the surface, steel within. "I tried to forget," Bruno finally said, his voice rough. "I really tried." Risay gave a small smile, one more painful than anger. "Forgetting doesn't mean healing." The words struck him harder than any criticism he had ever received. He remembered long nights in hotel rooms, writing lyrics only to tear them apart, hearing his own voice sing about freedom while being trapped by secrets. He remembered his fear of the spotlight, of gossip, of losing control over a story that should have belonged to them. Outside, the crowd's roar grew louder. Time was running out. Bruno stepped closer, feeling the distance shrink, not just physically, but emotionally. He caught the faint scent of Risay's perfume mixed with rain and static electricity, a scent that always made him feel both at home and lost. "There are things I never said," he admitted. His hands clenched, an old habit whenever he stood on the edge of honesty. "Not because I didn't care, but because I was afraid that if I said them, I'd have to change." Risay closed her eyes briefly, drawing a deep breath. When she opened them again, there was a new calm within. "I didn't come to ask you to change," she said. "I came to stop running." The words hung in the air, heavy yet freeing. Bruno felt something he had long suppressed slowly release, like a sustained note finally finding resolution. He realized that the reason he couldn't forget Risay wasn't because of an unfinished love story, but because she was the most honest mirror he had ever faced. With her, he couldn't hide behind a stage persona or metaphorical lyrics. A crew member knocked urgently on the door, signaling that time was almost up. Reality called them back. Bruno and Risay looked at each other, no grand promises, no excessive drama. Just a quiet understanding that some meetings are meant to change the course of a life, not to be owned, but to be understood. As Bruno stepped out toward the stage lights, the rain outside began to ease. He smiled, not the smile of an artist for the cameras, but the smile of someone who had finally made peace with memory. Behind the curtain, Risay stood alone, yet no longer lonely. She knew that for the first time their story was not gossip, not rumor, but a calm truth, one that didn't need to be announced to be real. The stage lights exploded into white and gold as Bruno stepped forward, the crowd screaming his name, but his mind was still backstage, still trapped in the red emergency glow where Risay's words echoed like a challenge he couldn't ignore. He sang on instinct, muscle memory carrying him through the opening notes, yet every lyric twisted into something new, something dangerously close to confession. His voice cracked once, just enough that the front row noticed, and that crack sent a shiver through him because it felt honest. Backstage, Risay leaned against the cold concrete wall, arms folded tightly around herself. The bass from the speakers vibrated through her bones. She told herself she should leave, that staying would only reopen wounds she had stitched together with discipline and silence. Yet her feet wouldn't move. Every song felt like it was aimed at her, like Bruno was daring her to answer. When the concert ended, chaos followed. Crew members rushed, doors slammed, voices overlapped. Bruno peeled himself away from the noise and found her near the loading bay, the air thick with exhaust fumes and rain-soaked asphalt. She was scrolling on her phone, pretending calm, but her jaw tightened the moment she sensed him. "You sang it differently," she said without looking up. Bruno exhaled a humorless laugh. "You noticed?" "I always notice," Risay replied, finally meeting his eyes. "That's the problem." Silence stretched, charged, and uncomfortable. A security guard glanced their way, sensing tension but unsure of its source. Bruno stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You said you came to stop running. Does that include telling me why you disappeared without a word?" Risay's expression hardened. "You think I disappeared because I wanted to?" Her voice rose despite herself. "I waited, for months. One call, one message that wasn't vague or safe, but all I got were songs that hid behind metaphors." "That's not fair," Bruno shot back, heat flaring. "You know what would have happened if we went public. You know how the industry works. And you know how it feels to be someone's secret," she snapped, eyes shining. "To matter only in private." The words hit him like a slap. For a moment, the confident performer vanished, replaced by a man cornered by his own fear. "I was trying to protect us," he said, quieter now. "No," Risay replied softly. "You were protecting yourself." Rain began to fall again, light but insistent, blurring the harsh edges of the loading bay lights. Risay stepped back, shaking her head as if trying to steady herself. "I didn't come here to fight," she said, "but I won't pretend anymore. Not for you, not for anyone." Bruno reached out, stopping just short of touching her arm. The restraint burned more than contact ever could. "Then tell me the truth," he said. "All of it, even the parts that scare you." She studied him, searching for something, sincerity, perhaps, or courage equal to her own. When she spoke again, her voice trembled despite her effort to keep it steady. "I left because I realized I was starting to measure my worth by how invisible I could be, and that terrified me." The confession hung between them, raw and unpolished. Bruno felt his chest tighten, guilt threading through every breath. He wanted to deny it to argue, but the truth settled heavily in his silence. "I never wanted you to feel small," he whispered. "I know," Risay said. "That's what makes it hurt more." A car door slammed nearby, snapping them back to the present. Time pressed in on them again, relentless. Risay straightened, wiping at her eyes, her composure snapping back into place like armor. "This doesn't change everything," she said, "but it changes something." Bruno nodded slowly. "Then maybe that's where we start." She gave a faint, conflicted smile, one that carried longing and resolve in equal measure. As she turned and walked into the rain, Bruno stayed where he was, soaked and shaking, realizing that the most dangerous part wasn't the gossip, the cameras, or the consequences. It was the fact that for the first time, running no longer felt like an option. The rain followed them into the city, slicking the streets into mirrors of neon and regret. Bruno sat alone in the back of the car, tie loosened, knuckles white as he replayed Risay's words over and over until they lost their edges and became something heavier. Invisible. The word lodged in his chest like a shard. He had sung about women who left, women who stayed, women who broke him, but never about the woman who vanished because she was tired of being unseen. His phone vibrated. A message from his manager lit the screen. "They know Risay was backstage. Blogs are already sniffing around. We need to shut this down now." Bruno didn't reply. He closed his eyes instead, the city lights bleeding through his lids, And for the first time in years, he felt the urge not to run ahead to the next show, the next distraction, but backward, toward the mess he'd never cleaned up. Across town, Risay stood in her hotel room with the curtains drawn, heels kicked off, forehead pressed to the glass. Sirens wailed somewhere below. She told herself she felt lighter after saying what she'd buried for so long, but her chest ached as if something vital had been torn loose. Her phone buzzed nonstop. Staff, friends, warnings disguised as concern. She ignored them all until one name appeared. Bruno. She stared at it, thumb hovering, heart racing with a mix of anger and longing that made her dizzy. She answered before she could talk herself out of it. "Are you okay?" he asked immediately, the bravado stripped from his voice. She laughed softly, bitterly. "That's the first honest question you've asked me tonight." He accepted the blow. "I deserve that." Silence crackled between them, thick and intimate even through the phone. Risay walked to the bed and sat, fingers twisting in the fabric of the sheets. "They're already talking," she said. "Your people, my people, they always do." "I know," Bruno replied. "They're telling me to make this disappear." "And will you?" she asked, the question sharper than she intended. Bruno hesitated, and that hesitation spoke volumes. Risay closed her eyes, pain flaring, ready to hang up, but then he spoke again. "No," he said, "not this time." Her breath caught. "You don't get to say that lightly." "I'm not," he said, voice low, urgent. "I'm tired of hiding behind strategy and fear. I'm tired of writing songs that tell half the truth. And I'm tired of pretending losing you was something I could live with." The words burned, beautiful and terrifying. Risay felt tears spill despite herself. "You don't know what you're asking for," she whispered. "If this comes out, it won't be romantic. It'll be brutal." "I know," Bruno said. "I'm scared out of my mind, but I think I should have been scared of letting you go." A knock sounded at her door, sharp and insistent. Risay stiffened. "They're here," she said. "My team." "Do you want me to come?" Bruno asked, the question reckless and sincere. She imagined it, him standing beside her, unfiltered, unprotected. The fantasy thrilled and terrified her. "No," she said finally. "Not yet. If you're going to do this, do it right. Not impulsively, not as another secret meeting." Bruno nodded even though she couldn't see him. "Then tell me how." Risay stood, wiping her cheeks, spine straightening. "Start by telling the truth in a way that doesn't use me as a metaphor. Stop letting everyone else decide what's safe for you." He smiled faintly. She could hear it in his voice. "You always were braver than me." "I learned the hard way," she replied. After the call ended, the fallout arrived like a storm. Headlines erupted overnight, blurry photos, wild speculation, praise and condemnation tangled together. Bruno's camp scrambled, damage control in full force, while Risay faced questions loaded with implication, her every silence dissected. They met again days later in a quiet rehearsal studio, neutral ground, stripped of glamour. No crowds, no costumes, just bare walls and a piano. The air smelled of dust and old wood. Bruno played a few tentative notes, hands shaking, then stopped. "I rewrote it," he said. "The song." Risay crossed her arms, heart pounding. And it doesn't hide anymore," he replied. "It might cost me." She studied him, searching for the cracks, the escape routes. Finding none, she stepped closer. "Sing it," she said. When he did, the room filled with a truth so raw it left them both trembling. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't safe. But it was real. Tears streamed down Risay's face, and she didn't bother wiping them away. When the last note faded, Bruno looked at her, vulnerable and unguarded. "This is why I can't forget you," he said. "You don't let me lie." Risay took a shaky breath, emotions crashing through her in waves. "And this," she replied softly, "is why walking away was the hardest thing I've ever done." They stood there, not touching, yet closer than they'd ever been, understanding at last that love wasn't the fantasy they'd almost sold to the world, but the courage to be seen, scars and all, even when the cost was terrifying. The studio door closed behind them with a dull thud, sealing Bruno and Risay inside a silence that felt heavier than any crowd. The piano still vibrated faintly, as if the room itself was struggling to let go of what had just been confessed. Bruno wiped his face with the back of his hand, embarrassed by the tears he hadn't bothered to stop. Risay watched him, chest tight, realizing this was the first time she had ever seen him without armor, without charm deployed as defense. "You know they'll tear you apart for that song," she said quietly. Bruno let out a slow breath. "They already are. My phone hasn't stopped buzzing since rehearsal ended." "Then why do it?" Her voice carried both challenge and fear. "Because I'm tired of surviving by omission," he answered. "And because every time I don't say your name, it still echoes in everything I write." Risay looked away, packing the room. The wooden floor creaked beneath her steps, grounding her as memories surfaced, nights of whispered conversations, laughter swallowed by studio walls, hands brushing but never fully claiming. "I didn't ask to become your turning point," she said, emotion bleeding through her restraint. "I asked to be real." Bruno stood, crossing the room until only inches separated them. "Then be real with me now," he said. "Tell me what you're still afraid to say." She laughed, sharp and pained. "You," she admitted. "Not losing you. Becoming small again because loving you feels like standing under a spotlight that never turns off." The honesty stunned him. "I don't want you smaller," he said fiercely. "I want you louder than me." Risay met his gaze, searching for doubt, for contradiction. Finding none unsettled her more than any lie could. "You say that now," she whispered. "But when the backlash hits, when they start asking why, when they reduce us to headlines." "I'll still be standing here," he cut in. "If I walk away again, you never have to forgive me." Her breath trembled. She hated how much she wanted to believe him. She hated even more that she almost did. Days passed, each heavier than the last. Interviews twisted words. Rumors grew teeth. Bruno faced questions designed to provoke denial, but he refused to play along. Risay watched from afar as clips spread, her heart racing every time he refused to deflect, every time he chose honesty over safety. It terrified her because it proved he was changing, and change meant uncertainty. They met again, this time not in secrecy but in daylight, at a quiet cafe tucked between glass towers. Cameras lurked outside, distant but aware. Risay sat stiffly, sunglasses on, fingers wrapped tightly around her cup. Bruno arrived without entourage, without disguise, and sat across from her like it was the most natural thing in the world. "You shouldn't be here," she muttered. "I know," he replied. "That's why I came." She shook her head, torn between anger and admiration. "You're making it worse." "No," he said gently. "I'm making it visible." Their eyes locked, tension crackling. "Visibility is a privilege," Risay snapped. "You don't get to decide how much of me the world consumes." Bruno leaned in, lowering his voice. "Then tell me how to protect you without erasing you." The question disarmed her. She stared at him, heart pounding, then spoke slowly. "By letting me choose, by not turning this into a redemption arc for you." He nodded, absorbing the blow. "You're right." The simplicity of his acceptance broke something open inside her. "I don't know what this makes us," she confessed. "I just know I don't want to disappear again." "You won't," Bruno said. "Not on my watch, not on yours." For the first time, Risay reached across the table, her fingers brushing his. The touch was brief, electric, but deliberate. Outside, shutters clicked. Inside, neither pulled away. That night, alone again, Risay replayed the moment, not with longing but with resolve. She realized this wasn't about rekindling something old, but building something dangerous and new, something that demanded truth, even when it hurt. Bruno, lying awake in a silent hotel room, understood it too. He had loved before, but this was different. This was love without illusion, stripped of fantasy and fear. And for the first time, he wasn't writing to escape pain. He was writing to face it, knowing that whatever came next, it would no longer be a lie. The backlash arrived like a tidal wave, louder and uglier than either of them had imagined. It wasn't just gossip anymore. It was commentary disguised as concern, morality wrapped in marketing language. Bruno sat in a sterile conference room while executives spoke about timing and optics, their voices blurring into a single droning threat. He listened, nodded, then surprised even himself when he stood up and stopped them mid-sentence. "I'm not apologizing for telling the truth," he said, calm but immovable. "If my honesty costs me something, that's a price I'll pay." Across the city, Risay watched the clip circulate. She replayed it twice, 3 times, her chest tightening with a mix of pride and fear. She had always known words could wound, but now she saw how they could also shield. Still, the messages poured in warnings, pleas, accusations that she was a distraction, a risk, a narrative problem. She shut her phone off and went for a walk, letting the city noise swallow her thoughts until she could breathe again. They met that evening on a rooftop overlooking the river, the sky bruised purple and gold as the sun sank low. The air smelled of rain and concrete. For once, there were no cameras, no handlers hovering nearby. Just them, standing at the edge, the city humming below like a restless witness. "You didn't have to do that," Risay said, breaking the silence. Bruno shrugged, a tired smile tugging at his lips. "I did, because every time I chose comfort over truth, I lost a piece of myself, and I'm done being afraid of losing what I never fully owned." She studied him, searching for the cracks where fear might still hide. "And if this ends badly," she asked, "if it hurts more than it heals?" He turned to face her fully, eyes steady. "Then at least it will be honest pain, not the kind that festers quietly for years." Her breath hitched. She stepped closer, the wind tugging at her hair, her voice low and intense. "I won't be your muse," she said. "I won't be your secret. I won't be the thing you grow from while I stay the same." Bruno didn't flinch. "Good," he replied. "I don't want a muse, I want a mirror, someone who won't let me pretend." The words landed deep. Risay felt something shift, a final wall giving way. She laughed softly, tears burning her eyes. "You know this scares me more than walking away ever did." He reached for her hand, slow and deliberate, giving her time to pull back. She didn't. Their fingers intertwined, warm and grounding. "It scares me too," he admitted. "But maybe that's how we know it matters." They stood there as the city lights flickered on one by one. No grand declarations, no promises carved in stone. Just a shared understanding that whatever they were choosing now was real, and reality, however brutal, was something they could finally face together. Weeks later, Bruno released the song. No cryptic marketing, no half-truths, just music and a statement that refused to explain more than necessary. The reaction was explosive. Some praised the courage, others condemned the audacity. But beneath the noise, something quieter happened. People listened, really listened. And in the rawness of the lyrics, they found pieces of their own hidden truths. Risay didn't stand beside him on stage. She didn't need to. She watched from a distance, grounded in her own work, her own voice, unshrinking. When their paths crossed, it was without secrecy or spectacle. Just 2 people who had chosen honesty over fear, even when it cost them comfort. On a quiet night far from the city, Bruno sat at a piano again, not to write, but to listen. Risay stood nearby, humming softly, unfinished melodies filling the room. There was no audience, no pressure to define what they were. Only the steady rhythm of breath, the simple fact of presence. In the end, it was never about a scandal or a headline. It was about 2 people daring to be seen as they were, imperfect and unprotected. And that was the reason Bruno Mars could never forget Risay, not because she was a chapter he couldn't close, but because she was the truth that finally taught him how to live without hiding.